Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial in acrylics. Today I'm going to show you how to paint pink trees in a row on either side with a path in between, leading off into some source of light here. Maybe there's a waterfall. I'm going to leave it a little mysterious. You guys can make it whatever you want it to be and just leave it to imagination, but it's going to be a really pretty painting, easy to paint, easy to follow along, and step by step. You guys are going to love this one. Let's jump in and get started. Let's go over the canvas I'm using, which is a 16 by 20 double primed and stretched canvas. It's been primed with gesso, and I've got the following colors here: titanium white, cadmium yellow light, neon pink, neon red, phthalo blue, Mars black, and some more titanium white down here, so that I've got some clean white for my dark colors and some clean white for my warmer colors. And the brushes I'm going to be using today are, starting off with my largest for the background, my number 70 flat brush. And then I'm going to be painting my trees with my number 14 filbert brush. I'll be using this number 3 round brush for smaller details, such as twinkling lights on the trees. So just use whatever you have that's similar to these today if you don't have exactly what I'm using, but still follow along and give this one a try because it's going to be really easy and enjoyable to paint. Now the first thing I want to do is just wet my canvas, and I like using a little spray bottle. It gets it done quicker, and wetting the canvas first before coming in with your background helps to spread and blend that acrylic around so much easier. So I'm just going to take my large brush here, get rid of that little hair. I'm going to add a little bit more. It's a bigger canvas, so I need a little bit more water. For the background, I'm going to be using a combination of blue, black, and white, and I'm going to add the darkest colors here on the outside edges and then gradiate into the light in the center and in our pathway here. So I'll take some blue, some black, and some white. I'm just going to take all 3 colors here, and I'm going to start adding it on the ends, brush up and down. Work some of this out here on this side. Now you guys may be noticing that I've switched up my setup here for filming. So I've been having some vertigo problems on and off for the past 6 months. I had some last year as well, but it's come back and it's been really uncomfortable. And so it's coming from my neck. And I thought changing it up, how I'm setting up my filming here, would help me change my position. So I was setting it up on the right side. All my paint, my palette was set up on the right side. I had my camera on the left. It was opposite from what it is right now. However, it was hard for you viewers to see. My hand was kind of covering up what I was doing. So I've switched back to this side. I'll see how I feel. And I'll take a break if it's bothering me, but I just wanted to kind of explain that to you guys and why that was. But I'm going to take a little bit more white now, a little bit more blue, just a tiny bit of black, and I'm going to start spraying a little bit more water in here, softening this area here. So basically you just want to have the edges of your canvas darker than the center. So I'll take a little bit more, and I'm going to spray on this side and just start blending it in. Acrylic paint dries darker, so that's why I'm adding a little bit more white. Get rid of these pesky little hairs. I've got quite a few of them today. Probably because I've had my dog in here and she's shedding. These Pomeranian dogs shed quite a bit. Okay, so we've got a nice soft gradation. Doesn't that look pretty already? At this stage of the painting, we could make so many different paintings, landscapes. We could add figures to this. It could be a city scene, a cityscape, a seascape. I love having just this as a basic background to start a painting from. And we're gonna just start to slide our brush back and forth, side to side now. And what I'm gonna do is take some white. I haven't rinsed my brush out. There's still a little hint of the blue-gray in there. And I'm just gonna go and make the line right here narrower, just like pretty much the width of this brush, which is 2 inches. And then I'm gonna start going wider and wider. And then I'm gonna turn my brush this way when I get down towards the bottom of the canvas. I'm going to take, whoop, not that white, this white. I don't want to touch that and get any balloon gray in it. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more white down here in the center. Soften, soften. Okay, I'm going to rinse this brush out. Okay, so at this stage of the painting, I'm going to come in and start adding some trees. I'm going to use the same colors, just less white, and I'm going to use my 14 filbert brush for this step. Now this painting is still wet, but that's okay. We're going to get some different tones going on and picking up a little bit of the white, and you'll see what happens. It's easier for you guys to understand when you watch it happening than for me to explain it to you. So I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet, and I'm going to pull in to my blue and my black. I'll take a little bit of white. Now this is just the base coat, right? We're going to be coming over and turning these trees into pink twinkling lit trees. So we're going to start with ones that are farther away. Now the trees that are farther away are going to be a little bit shorter, and then they're going to get taller and taller as they get closer to us in the foreground. So we're wanting to create perspective, and this is the easiest way to do it. And if you guys notice, just quickly here, notice how it kind of resembles a triangle, right? This is your center point here, and the perspective here is near, far, so smaller and smaller, narrower, getting farther away. So that's a really easy one. There's different points of perspective, so many different ones, but this is just one that's really basic and easy and dramatic. So I'm going to come in here and just add a few little tree trunks, and then I'll add another one right here that's going to be a little bit taller. I'm going to take a little bit more blue and black. As that gets darker here, I'm going to use less white. And really, there's hardly any white in these ones. But I'm just going to go over this a little bit more. We're probably not going to see the tree trunk. We might see the base of these trees. And then we could even have some little tiny ones here. You just want to make sure you space them out enough so that you have room for your branches. You need some clearance, some room there. So the tallest trees, I'm going to add a little line right here and a line right here. And the top of the tree will be right here. Okay, let's take a little bit more, a little wider at the bottom. And then you start to let off. I just need a little bit of water in my brush to thin that paint out a little bit. And the water also helps it flow. Okay, and then we'll just eyeball this one, come down and do that. Okay, so we're gonna have some really pretty rows of trees. And we may even be able to fit a few extra ones after. I'm just going to come down here at the base of the tree Add a little line. You can even kind of curve like that. Place those trees a little bit nicer so they don't look like little lines just kind of floating. Give it a little bit of a base. And then we'll just add a little bit of taps of shadows in here. We'll add some snow on top of these after. Be sure to leave a little space, a little opening here. And it's pretty dark down there, so we don't really need to add anything. Okay, so I'm gonna go in, reload my brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of white here, soften. Isn't that a pretty color? Soften for these ones that are farther away. So we'll just tap a little bit like that for the top of the tree. And then just start little taps like this. Again, we don't want to make these trees too wide because we need to have room for the next one. Okay, so we've got a couple little trees back there, and look how dramatic they look already, this whole painting together. This is why it's so satisfying to paint these types of perspectives and the gradation and shading of using just a couple colors. These types of tutorials I find, and my students find, are a lot more relaxing and easier to follow along. So if you're just a beginner painter and you're seeing this and you're like, well, there's no way I can do that. Sometimes the easiest paintings look the hardest to paint when you see the painting and you're like, oh no, that one's going to be really hard. They're actually really easy and simple, and all you have to do is just follow some basic steps. Let the brush make the shapes of the branches for you. I love a filbert brush, and I've got lots of tutorials on how to paint trees, waterfalls, bushes, all sorts of things just using a filbert brush. I have lots of different sizes of each brush, all the brushes that I use, and probably the most filbert brushes. So now I'm going to come in and start our next tree. Right here, I just turn my brush narrow and tap a little bit, and then now notice how when I push and tap, if I go up, I can change the whole feeling of the tree. Looks a little happier, doesn't it? Those ones look a little more moody and droopy looking. And those kind of end up looking like that when they're weighed down with snow, and I kind of like that. So I just like to give you guys a few options and show you and demonstrate in these tutorials. Just by turning your brush a little bit when you tap, you can change the mood and the look of the tree. I'm going to make this a little thicker and denser so that when we add some glowing lights, they really do show up. Okay, so just a little like that. Our spacing is good. We still have lots of room for this one here, but let's go over there onto the right. And just a touch of blue in there. I'm really loving this combination of the phthalo blue and Mars black and titanium white together. I know I'll be doing probably a series using this color palette. Again, just turning the brush this way to get narrower taps, and then push and tap in the center, the left, the right. If you prefer to use a fan brush, that's just fine too. And I've got tutorials where I've got one tutorial here on YouTube where I demonstrate each tree with a filbert brush and then the same tree using a fan brush. So you can see the difference, how different they look, and you can decide which one you like better and how to create trees using both brushes, because it's a little bit different with each brush. I just wanted to fill this one out a little bit more And now because these ones are darker on this side, I'm gonna add more black and blue, less white, because we want these to really show up. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit more blue here. There's a touch of white just from here, but I think it's still gonna be, yeah, it's still a lot darker than the background, so we're safe. Now what would also be really pretty as an underpainting for the pink trees would be just using gray. Now this is kind of a shade of gray, it's a blue gray. You may be familiar with Payne's gray. Payne's gray is a blue gray. So you can just easily make shades of Payne gray, blue grays with blue, black, and white. Depending on what shade of black, white, and blue you're using, you'll get something a little different. So just experiment and see what works for you. I'm gonna add a little bit more white in here. That's gonna dry really dark. I can't wait to add the pink. This process is really fun. Painting trees are really relaxing. I do paint a lot of them. It's just what I love to paint. I like to paint what brings me joy and keeps me relaxed. And every artist has something that they're drawn to and what they really are passionate about creating, and I love nature. Now I also love kind of exaggerating and making things just a little bit more colorful or just more exaggerated. And I also really love to paint fantasy style. I often explain to people, I paint things the way they make me feel when I'm out in nature. They get my imagination going. Sometimes when I'm hiking in the forest here on Vancouver Island, I feel like I'm in a fairy tale world. Like I'm gonna see fairies or, you know, Little Red Riding Hood somewhere. It's that beautiful. So just scuffing a little bit of a dry brush there for a few more shadows, because we're gonna have some snow along the side here and reflections from the pink lights. But what I'll do next is completely dry this off, and then we get to start coming in with our pinks. So we've got a cool pink and a warm red. These are neon colors. They're the Luminous, from the Luminous series by Holbein. If you're curious, I'm going to show you these colors. This is the paint brand. Everybody asks me what kind of paint I'm using, and this is my preferred choice. I love Holbein products. Love, love, love them. Been using them for years. And I also really love Liquitex Basics. So I've got my blue, black, actually, sorry, my Phthalo blue is, let me see, what is that? No, it's Liquitex. So these three colors here, the blue, black, and white are Liquitex Basics. And then these three colors here are by Holbein. And here's the yellow I'm using. It's actually not the Luminous one. It's just Cadmium Yellow Light. So like I said, we're going to completely dry this off so that we can come in with our pinks, and we're going to make some really pretty shades of pinks, some warm, some cool tones, lots of pastels. We're going to make these trees glow and turn this into a fairy tale winter lane. Okay, now as you can see, it is all dry, and we're going to come in with some pink now. I'm going to be using the same filbert brush, my number 14, and I'm just going to give it an extra rinse here. Make sure I've got that blue and black, all of that gray out of my brush. And we're going to start with the smallest ones to the biggest because these layer over, right? So you have to start in order. So make sure you start on the background ones first. And we're going to take some white, mix it up there, a little bit of yellow and a little bit of pink, a little bit more yellow in there, like sort of a peachy pinky tone that's closer to the light. I just want to create a few different shades. Okay, so I'm just going to tap over the blue. I feel like I've got a little bit too much water in my brush. I don't want it to be see-through. Well, it's going to be a little bit see-through, but it just felt like the paint was too thin. And I'm going to just saturate this a little bit more with some extra pink, because then I might go over with a mist after, and I want the pink to be visible. Okay, so see, we're just little taps, same exact brush stroke and technique as we used when we applied the blue, black, white base coat for our trees. And we're gonna move on. I'm gonna start adding a little bit of red here in with those pinks. I'm gonna add a little bit more here. And this is just the first or second layer. There's going to be a third, maybe even a fourth. Oh, look at how they just glow. I think this is so fun and pretty. Listen, you guys, I've got hundreds of tutorials on traditional Christmas trees and winter snow-covered trees, but this is the first tutorial that I'm just having fun painting pink trees. And I want to give a shout out to one of my loveliest Patreon members. I consider a friend, Catherine. I know you're watching, and it was funny because I asked you, Kath, one day. I often ask my Patreon members if they have any requests, and Kath said, "How about a glowing pink Christmas tree?" And I thought, oh my gosh, like it's like she read my mind, because I was already planning on that. I had it written down in my little book of when I have ideas of things that I want to paint. So that was already on my list. So I was really excited when she requested that. So Kath and everybody else, I hope that you're enjoying this one, and I can't wait to see your versions. And everybody else watching, whether you're a Patreon member or a YouTube member, subscriber, hope you guys have a lot of fun with this one. If you don't like pink, you can change the color up to any color that you want, but definitely have fun. Like, get out of your comfort zone and try adding a little bit of a fluff here of snow. Why not add a little bit of pink snow off to the side as well? Why not try a different color than you normally would, right? Instead of blue, green, or yellow, green, and black for a tree, try some purple trees, try some blue. Then it just really makes it kind of whimsical. Oftentimes, well, really often, so much so we are always trying to make things look realistic, and we think that the more realistic and true to color and true to real life we paint something, that means that we're a good painter. Not necessarily. There's just so many ways of painting and rendering something. So have fun and don't take yourself too seriously. If you really like to make things look super realistic, that's fine. That can be fun too. But once in a while, just to get you out of, your regular way of painting, try something different. Use an unusual color. And when we break out of our regular routines, what ends up happening is we start to use more and more ideas seem to come to us, and we use more and more of our imagination. But when you're stuck in the same routine, and this goes for everything in life, when you're doing the same things every day, going for a walk at the same time, eating the same thing for lunch every day, watching the same shows, whatever it may be, you're not really going to grow or change. And that is it's just so predictable. Who wants their life to be predictable every day? Life is short. You only live once. So try new things and, open yourself up to new experiences. And I hope that watching my channel and trying new techniques and different color palettes is part of what you decide to change up. This is just how I like to help others and express my feelings. Art is very, very therapeutic, and I love being able to share it with you all. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of white here. I'm going to just lightly dust over the center here. Make sure that I still have a little bit of light here on this side. I'm gonna just use a little bit of water here. I've got a few sizes of spray bottles. I love this one. It's got a finer mist, so you won't get any drips, not unless you spray multiple times, but using this can keep your palette stay wet longer. So if you're having trouble with your paint drying too quickly, which, I mean, come on, that's like the number one annoying part of learning to paint with acrylics. When you're first learning how to paint, you often take your time, right? Because you're being extra careful and you don't have a loose hand yet. So what ends up happening is your paint dries before you're done, and you feel like you've wasted all that paint, and can become quite frustrating. So this is just one of the things that I like to recommend to people. You can get slow drying mediums. However, those can be a little frustrating too. And let's face it, they cost money. So if you're on a budget, because paint is not cheap, if you want to use some nice products, and when you're first learning how to paint, like when I hold classes, I always supply high quality paint because it makes the experience of learning more enjoyable. There is a difference between poor quality paint and high quality paint. So heavy bodied acrylics are just creamier. They hold up better and don't fade like inexpensive ones. Inexpensive ones can be a little runnier too, and I've just noticed from when I first started painting, I was using thinner craft paints, and they were okay. And I mean, I taught myself a lot of stuff using them, but boy, I can't go back to those now. I really love the creamy, buttery feel. It's like using oil paint. And there's tips and tricks I show you guys here on my channel. I'm just gonna add a little fluff like this. It's like just a little oval. I show lots of tips here on my channel of how to make your acrylics act like oils. And I only use a little bit of water with my paint. Timing is part of it. Some brush techniques are part of it too. So make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. And there's a ton more over on Patreon as well. And like I said, I will part of joining Patreon is me giving you one-on-one advice and critiquing. So you can send me images of your paintings. And if you're stuck and you're having trouble, you don't know what to do, that's what I'm here for. So, oh, I'm loving this so much already. They just glow. I think it just looks so pretty. So what I want to do now is dry this off, and then we're going to start adding some a brighter shade of the pink. I'm just going to use a little bit more white with these same colors, and then I'm going to come in and add some soft, very, very light yellow twinkling lights. Now most of the paint is dry. There are a couple areas where I've applied the paint a little bit thicker, so that's going to take a little bit longer to dry. However, I'm just going to be careful when going over them, and we're going to start with these trees in the back. So I'm going to take my same filbert brush. Feel free to change up the size of your filbert brush if you feel like you want to use something a little smaller, say a number 10 or an 8 or even a 6. Just use whatever you feel comfortable with. I just find that I have more control with a filbert brush for trees than I do with a fan brush. The fan brushes feel a little bit out of control when I'm using them. I like being able to control the shape a little bit more, and I love the shape that the filbert brushes have to them. So I'm just going to take, like I said, a little bit of white, more white this time with the pink and the red. Let's just mix this up. Tiny bit of yellow in there. Always forget this cadmium, this specific cadmium yellow light is very, very saturated. So I feel like every single time I'm using it, I always take too much. Even though I'm taking just a little bit, it's still a lot. And I say the same thing in my tutorial, like, why didn't I remember? Okay, I'm gonna just tap lightly here. I may even need to add a little bit more white. So we're seeing the backs of these trees. So they wouldn't be, the light wouldn't really be hitting them. So it's probably the right color. Okay, we'll take a little bit more, and we're going to start coming in with little taps here. Okay, a little bit more paint on my brush. But see all the different shades. We've got warm and we've got cool. And that really brings a painting to life. What it does is it gives more feeling. Those temperatures, warm and cool, they balance each other out like light and shadow. You need to have a little bit of both. Take a little bit more of the pink there, so it's not the same amount everywhere. I want to have a little bit extra color here and there. But how are you guys finding, I'm pretending you guys are here watching this live right now, and I'm wondering how you guys are finding the steps so far. Is this easy for you guys to follow? It's using only 2 brushes so far, and a lot of the same simple techniques of just tapping or up and down with a large brush. So I love hearing from you guys. I love it when you post your thoughts down below. Positive ones only, please. We already have enough negativity in the world, so if you're wanting to post something negative, don't bother. I only acknowledge positivity. and send it out. But feel free to leave a comment below. It's usually on Sunday mornings that I really go through the majority of my comments. There's quite a few here on my channel, so I try to answer each and every one of you. But you know, it's just me. I don't have a team. I do everything myself. Film, run all my social media, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook group, Instagram, and YouTube. So there's a lot, and I do enjoy it, but I make sure that I'm taking care of myself too. So I can't answer everybody, but Sunday's the day that I do go through. So, and it's actually Sunday today that I'm working on this. And this morning I went through with my cup of coffee and my little dog Tilly on my lap, that I went through and I read all your beautiful comments and answered you guys, quite a few of you. And I gotta tell you guys, it just lifts my spirits and makes me so happy. Your comments really do make a difference. They don't go unnoticed, so keep them coming. And anybody out there that's going through health issues, because I get a lot of comments regarding, you know, many of you are saying you've suffered a stroke, you're healing from cancer, or you've just been diagnosed with something. I want to give a mass shout out to all of you, and prayers to you all, and much healing. Really do think that 2025 is the year. This 2025 coming up is going to be such a fantastic, life-changing year. So sending good vibes out to everybody and prayers. I'm going to come in and just sweep a little bit in here, but I'm going to dry this off first. I want to sweep in a little bit of warm peachy pink tones, just a touch here in the back to bring this all together. And then we're going to come in and add our twinkling lights that I'm so excited about. Who wouldn't love to walk down a pink tree lane at Christmas time? Sometimes there's those Christmas tree farms that you can go to, though I've never been, but I've seen them on TV. I watch a lot of those Christmas movies on Hallmark and Lifetime, and they show such beautiful places. I hope to see one in real life someday, but anyways, you see them walking with their hot chocolate through the Christmas farms, and they have them lit up in different colors, and pink would just be so magical and beautiful. Okay, so this is all dry, and I'm going to come in with the filbert brush here, a little bit of yellow and pink. Let me just thin this out a little bit. You know what, I'm going to use a little bit more, which one? Red, maybe a little dab of red here. I'll take another little dab of my pink. These colors are very, very concentrated, saturated, so you really don't need a lot. A little goes a long way. Let's take some white in there. Soften, soften. Let me pull this out so you guys can actually see the color mixing up on here. Okay, so you don't want a lot of paint. See, there's no globs of paint on my brush. We're going to start slightly over. And I'm going to take more white right away to make that softer. A little spray of water. Slightly over the white. And slightly off to the blue side. Teeny tiny bit of yellow. I remembered that time to not add too much because that yellow is very strong. You take some more white and just add that right in the middle. And then pull that through the lane here. Take a little bit of the peach. I'm going to continue over part of this blue in the background, just a tiny bit. That might even look like light purple once it dries because it's overlapping on pink on blue, right? So together, filtered like that, it may look a little bit purple. So that'll be pretty. Okay, so it's just subtle, right? It's just a little something extra. Now we're going to use our round brushes. If you don't have a brush like this, you can just use any small detailed brush. It could be a little liner brush or even a Q-tip if you don't have any of those brushes. All we want to do is add some a little bit of yellow and white. Now I mean just the littlest bit of yellow because I do want to keep this on the pink side, and I just want to create a bright glowing light effect on our trees. Okay, so just a little bit here. I'm going to just dab and a little bit more. Just little dabs. These trees in the back won't really show up. The lights won't show up as much on them. They're lighter and they're farther away. So if you stagger them, that might look more natural, or you can have them like garlands twisting around the tree. But this is just for beginners, so I don't want to get too fancy, but I do have tutorials on different ways of painting lights on a tree, like twisted around like this, and also scooped and scalloped. Now I love Christmas. I mean, who doesn't, right? Especially now having grandkids. Well, technically I've got one grandson who's 5 and he just started kindergarten this year, and my daughter's pregnant with her second son. He is due beginning of March. So I don't know what it is. Ever since my kids left, and you get that empty nest thing, and it's really sad, and you kind of get the blues a little bit about Christmas. It's just not the same. Christmas is so much more magical with the little ones. And so now that I've got grandkids, I just feel like I want to go crazy with decorations. Of course, unfortunately, I won't be spending Christmas with them this year, but I'm very excited for them for Christmas. And I was just mentioning in one of my other videos, because I really love nostalgic, old-fashioned, White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, Christmas Carol, all those old classic Christmas movies I grew up watching. And just like the vintage Christmas ornaments, all the old-fashioned sleigh rides, stuff like that. I love that. So I was mentioning in one of my videos, I was talking about how I remember when I was a little girl in the 80s, maybe even early 90s too. We had angel hair. It was called angel hair. So it's like tinsel, but it's not silver. It's just like, what does it look like? It kind of looks like cotton candy, but colorless. But when you would hang it on the tree, it would just gracefully, it looks like spun candy, and it looks so beautiful. You could wrap it around, kind of make a nest around your lights, your Christmas lights, and it would just make it look so glowy and magical. But I'm pretty sure they discontinued it here in Canada anyways, because it's actually spun fiberglass. And if you got that in your hands or your feet, or heaven forbid your throat or your eyes, it was very uncomfortable. So you can see here, as I'm talking about Christmases in the past, I'm adding bigger dabs for the lights. But see how much it changes the painting? The painting was pretty before, and you can leave it like that if you don't celebrate Christmas or you don't want to have Christmas lights. But I just love that instantly it feels exciting and magical and festive. It pulls me in even more. It really does make me want to get a pink Christmas tree. Or even if I had the money, I would probably create this in my yard. Maybe have a skating rink through. Can you imagine all the things you could do if you were able to actually do it? Hope I'm not boring you guys to sleep with my little chit chat here and there. It's just, I feel really happy when I'm painting, and it brings up fond memories of when I had Christmases with my parents as a kid, and when my kids still lived at home. All the good times. And so many more good times to come. That one got a little blurry, but you know what, I was going to go over some of these anyways after, so I'll just show you how you can change it up even more and then come back in. So just a little bit of a blending, a little pressure, and you can make them look like they're glowing. There's different orders. I mean, you can do that in. You can do the blurry effect first, that's transparent, more of a dry brush, or you can come in with the bright, thicker dabs like this, wait for it to dry, and then go over top with a dry brush to make them glow, look like they're twinkling. Again, not too much yellow. See, at first glance, you think that they're just white, but the white is tinted with just enough yellow that it looks a little warm and a little more inviting and cheery on these trees. I would love to hear your guys's, because you know how I mentioned that every Sunday I have my cup of coffee and I have my dog on my lap and I go through and read your comments. I would love to hear your favorite memories. Give me your best memories, or even recipes if you had like a traditional cookie that your mom used to make, or that you made for your kids, or one that you're making this season. Any little Christmassy, uplifting recipe, memory, add it down below. Comments can be really helpful, not only for me, but so many people go to the comment section and like to read them, and you may just lift somebody's spirits today that needed it. So we have a great platform here on social media, and you can decide. It's a choice. You have time to think about what you take time to post before you do it. So are you a positive person? Do you want to send out goodness to everybody, or are you going to be the opposite? And I'm encouraging you guys to be positive. It's easy to be negative, but once you start being a little more positive and being grateful for all the little things, or just thinking about what you hope for, I mean, you'd be surprised at how quickly your mindset changes. and how you become happier. Put out positivity and you'll get it back tenfold. Okay, so this is probably the most time-consuming part of the painting. That's why I'm feeling a little chatty, but adding more lights and larger ones to these ones that are closer to us. So we've got one more to go here. I'm not going to add any stars. I've got so many tutorials on painting stars, and I just want these to be trees with lights on them. But you can definitely add a star if you want. Pink is my favorite color, so no wonder why I chose pink for the specific painting. I feel like pink just like lightens my mood. I feel comforted when I wear pink, and I don't know, this is probably going to sound silly. Maybe some of you guys can relate, but I think it comes from the fact that when I was little, and like even through my teens and even now, my mom loves the color pink. I don't know if she'll ever see this video. She isn't tech savvy and doesn't really know how to navigate and watch stuff on or run a computer, but my mom loves pink and she's always worn pink. Like she wears other colors too, of course, but I remember how comforting her hugs were and still are to this day, especially like just the color pink. It just associate with my mom, and I think that's why it's a cozy color, feel good color for me. They do say, experts say, I don't know who the experts are, but they say that colors can have a significant effect on your mood and your well-being. So if I could get away with it, if my husband was okay with it, he probably wouldn't love it if I painted everything pink in the house. But, you know, I really do love pink. Pink and turquoise. He likes turquoise as well, so our house is turquoise. I'm just going around now and just kind of adding like a little soft glowing ring around these. They're still wet, but I just want to show you how you can do that on some of these that are a little bit closer to us, and then go over them. I'm just going to soften a little bit more, and then go back over them in the center with white or that tinted yellow, or tinted white with the yellow. You know what I mean? The first base coat color. But see the difference? It looks pretty when they're just like that too, but it just adds a little bit of extra magic. I'm gonna add just a little bit of this soft yellow here at the base of the trees. And I mean just a little bit, because I don't want to change the whole color of this painting. I want it to be primarily pink. When you look at it and you just see fuzzy, warm pink. I want it to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Just make this a little bit brighter here because it's closer to us. So the glow would be a little bit larger in area here. Okay, so I'm going to go around and add a little bit of that glow, less paint on my brush, and I think I'll start here. Now wherever you have your lights, just go around and add a ring wherever you want, or if you just want them the way they are now, just as a dab or a dot, you can leave it. I think it looks pretty both ways. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I definitely want some of them to have that little bit of a glow. Adding a little bit on the branches as well. Just take like a little bit more pink and white. To brighten up some of these branches, but just a little bit. Don't cover up all of the pink. Wherever we have lots of dark spaces in here, I'm going to add little dabs of lights and a little bit more, as you can see, a little bit more pink here and there. Now you can change up the sizes of your lights too. You can have lots of little ones. You can have some, like a little bit of small ones, some big ones, some medium-sized ones. I'm going to add a little bit more on this side too. And I'm going to just go around lightly and give some of these a little glow up. And then a few more dabs. I think this painting is getting close to being done. I'm going to just add the last little bit of lights on here. Now I could add more and more and more, but I really wanted to create something beautiful and easy for beginners. This would be fun for a paint night with friends. Or with your kids. Kids, grandkids, or just on your own. Sometimes painting just on your own is nice. It's just your time. If you're somebody that spends a lot of time in the public already, then you definitely need your downtime. And this is one way to just calm and relax yourselves and get lost in your own little world that you're creating with a canvas and some paint and a few brushes. So as I add the last little bit of glow to some of these lights here, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm wishing you all the very best this season and for 2025. Thanks for all of your support here and your beautiful comments. I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye!